Seven Deadly Sins was an anime series that took the anime community by storm. The perception of most people is that Seven Deadly Sins essentially made a steep decline from the studio change, but there were a number of issues that ultimately led to the decline of Seven Deadly Sins, Nanatsu No Taizai. It's definitely a great show, and its demise is very, very much unfortunate because there are aspects of that show that I truly care about and I really enjoyed. The video today is going to be dissecting the decline of Seven Deadly Sins. Now, the first thing that we're going to discuss is point number one, the structure of the show, and not necessarily per se how it was executed from a narrative and that sort of perspective. No, I'm simply talking about the structure in which the show was delivered, produced, and served over to the people. The way that they structured the entire show ended up causing a lot of problems for the fan base and the overall reception of the entire show. Season 1 of Seven Deadly Sins came out on October 2014. Season 2 of Seven Deadly Sins came out in 2018, the 13th of January. That is 4 years later. 4 years! Now, there aren't that many shows who are able to maintain the hype and continue going for such a long period of time while maintaining their fan base, so they come back on over. The only show I can think of that's been able to successfully do that, and honestly this is kind of a mistake in its own right, is Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan had a huge, insurmountable fan base and took the entire world by storm. It was definitely an international phenomenon, and because of its high quality show, high quality writing and high quality production just overall, they were able to maintain that fan base over a large number of years, even though there was a large gap between the multiple seasons that were served over time. That was definitely a problem for that, because when we finally received season 3 and the later seasons, it definitely lost some of the hype, but that hype definitely went all the way up when we finally got over to season 4, and once again it took the entire world by storm, as the craziness that ensued in that show was definitely exciting. Seven Deadly Sins, on the other hand, is a completely different beast that doesn't have the strengths that Attack on Titan has, nor does it have the popularity. So simply doing this was going to cause multiple issues for the show. The other point, the timing of everything and the way that everything is structured. Usually when you're watching a television series or anime or whatever show, the situation is that you have season 1, you have season 2, you have season 3, you have season 4. The issue with Seven Deadly Sins is that they chose to execute this entire system in a completely different way. Instead of naming these seasons season 1, season 2, season 3, season 4 the normal conventional way, they gave each and every single season its very own name. Now, in some cases this I guess can be okay, but the issue is that between some of these seasons there is a number of filler or more so OVA. These are episodes that more so give structure and give you backstory and more context to the situations that are going to happen coming forward. The issue is that this confuses everybody and makes it difficult for you to watch the entire show as a viewing experience. I'll be honest with you, me trying to simply find out what season I was on was quite difficult, because there's Seven Deadly Sins, season 1, where they all come together. There's season 2, which is not really season 2, the beginnings of a holy war, which is not really season 2. It's actually just for 4 episode build up, a little bit of filler, a little bit of extra story in there, and then season 2 is actually when the 10 commandments finally come into the fray. And this is an issue for all of the seasons, because it's not clear enough for you to understand that this is season 1, this is season 4. You actually have to go out and Google, and it takes you a little bit of time for you to find out which is the actual next season I need to hop onto, and that causes frustration and confusion from the get-go. And bro, for some people that might be a good enough reason for them to drop the show entirely. If it's difficult for me to even find out what's the next season, where's the next point to go, numbering it makes it much easier and much simpler. And this is just a small point. You may see it as a small point, but this can be a serious gripe. Many of you may not know or may not remember, but at some point, Seven Deadly Sins had taken the entire anime community by a storm. If you don't believe me, just cast your mind to this and cast your eyes to this. Just a few years ago, Meliodas versus the 10 Commandments. Escanor's arrival, if you go onto YouTube and look at multiple reactions, you'll be able to see that these guys were absolutely killing it. Look at the views these videos were able to produce, bro. Crazy, crazy numbers. And this is just a showing that these shows were popping at their time. They had crazy, crazy lit fire moments that were able to captivate everybody who's an enjoyer of anime in general. Seven Deadly Sins definitely has a lot of issues, and now that we've considered the structure of the show, I want to consider another very significant point that a lot of people may be looking past or not really considering that much because it doesn't get talked about a lot. The main issue that's really talked about is the animation, but that is just a slight problem to the other issues that the show is definitely full of. The second point we're going to be discussing today is the narrative, and essentially the narrative frailties. What caused the decline of Seven Deadly Sins from a narrative perspective? Seven Deadly Sins stopped using storytelling tactics that made the story genuinely interesting. What I meant by that was the use of mystery and a number of other aspects, especially considering the Seven Deadly Sins and Meliodas himself. Cast your mind to Season 1. These are just some of the questions that you as a viewer had on your mind while you were watching the show of Seven Deadly Sins. Intriguing, thought-provoking questions that you as the viewer will keep you invested and engaged with the entire show. Who or what the hell is Meliodas? Why is he so strong? Why is Meliodas so protective of the broken sword that lies on his back? What is the strange dark power that he constantly taps into when he gets angry or gets desperate? Who are the other members of the Seven Deadly Sins? They clearly don't match their descriptions of the pictures. Why were they framed, or are they actually bad people? And another aspect that we may have looked past, but simply finding each and every single member of the Seven Deadly Sins and just going through that journey with Elizabeth, Meliodas and the hawk, the pig, going to find these members was just an interesting plot point on its own. In the later seasons, the use of mystery is reduced significantly. If there's anything we don't know yet, it's not really that important. You're no longer asking yourself questions, pondering or theorizing anything for what's to come. Once the can of worms has been opened, it cannot be closed again. But worst of all, there wasn't another can to replace the open one. Revealing everything made all the intrigue but disappear. Once every single important or significant aspect is revealed in Seven Deadly Sins, for example Meliodas' origins, Elizabeth's origins, and the origins of every single faction, everything is kind of lost. No longer are we intrigued or invested to find out what is going to have next. Seven Deadly Sins no longer had any mystery alongside the unpredictable events of the story. Why does this matter? Layers. Layers in storytelling provides depth. So when more and more layers are removed as the story progresses, the shallower the story gets. So the show relies far more on the main plot of the final arc, which was in conclusion quite mediocre. The meddling animation of course also made this worse. And also, I want to make a note of this. The main character of Seven Deadly Sins also played a surprisingly ridiculously minuscule role in the final arc. He was either one, trapped, possessed, or in a cocoon for the majority of the arc. Ban, who's also a really great character, Ban spent a huge amount of time in purgatory. Bro, he was there for so long, bro. It was ridiculous. I'm like, what is going on, bro? Like, what the best characters are not in the final arc. What? While some may see this as more of a personal gripe, having the main character of the show play very little of a role in the final war arc is just a bad move in my opinion. Now, okay, fair enough. Somebody could argue that what I'm talking about right now is just a personality thing. It's a personal gripe that I have with Seven Deadly Sins in the final arc. Let me put it into perspective and compare it to another anime or another show to kind of give you an understanding of why this is so significant to the entire show. Consider Naruto Shippuden in the final arc of the Fourth Great Ninja War, when it was the good guys, the combined military ninja alliance, versus Obito and Madara Uchiha. Let's say in that final part of the entire war, Naruto is out of the fray. He's out, he's down and out, he's in a cocoon, he's powering up, or whatever reason, he's out of the fray. So pretty much every single cool moment and legendary moment that happened in the final war arc would disappear. And the only time that Naruto does pull up and come back is not for the fight against Madara. He comes and pulls up finally for the final fight against Kaguya. I don't know, I don't care who you are. That would be an unsatisfactory conclusion to a great anime. And that's essentially what Seven Deadly Sins did. Considering a number of other narrative issues and just overall just dryness, the lack of layers, the lack of substance, it was just more so on the mediocre side, and that's disappointing considering how high quality the first two initial seasons were. That's why it's so jarring to go from such high quality and to see this huge fall from grace. Another example I could give you is, let's say Ichigo in Bleach is out of the final Arancar fight for the entire arc. He doesn't go to Hueco Mundo, he doesn't fight Ukiura, he doesn't fight all these other guys. He only pulls up in the final part, maybe after all the captains have been defeated. Now Ichigo pulls up to fight Aizen after he's absorbed the Hogyoku. It would be so anticlimactic. By that point, the final arc has gone on for long enough. You no longer care about the main character's involvement because so much has transpired before that very point. That's what happened in Seven Deadly Sins. The most interesting and exciting character that we actually care about and are interested in, the most intriguing character, was out for the majority of the arc. And that, of course, is going to cause a number of issues. And I, of course, understand that was a narrative choice that the author chose to make, that Meliodas was going to be the vessel and he was going to be in the cocoon for a long period of time. But all I'm saying is that the arc would have improved a great deal if he actually had a significant role to play in the final battles. I know it isn't exactly the final battle, but it definitely is the one where the entire series was building up to. It was the one with the most stakes, and it would have been interesting to see him interact in these very high quality and, very tension filled fights. That was the issue that I just personally had with the entire thing. Oh yeah, and side note, Gotha is a horrible person. This confirmed everything else, that Gotha is actually trash. In the beginning, I just didn't really vibe with him because he was weird, awkward, and I just didn't like his personality. But now, after seeing this final season, I have a real reason to actually really not like Gotha. What a trash person. The Demon King is also kind of trash too, bro. He did not know how to operate and to do this correctly, bro. I'm sure he could have found another comparable good vessel that he could have taken care of. But hey, bro, it is what it is. These were the narrative choices that the author chose to make. Yeah, bro, it's disappointing that the narrative highs and the only scenes that truly maintain their popularity are the scenes where Escanor does his thing. When Escanor is pulling up, you already know it's going to be a banger, and you already know everybody is going to be pulling in. What a damn shame to a truly legendary series. No, man, don't even get me started on the animation, bro. It's so disappointing. So disappointing. And depending on the type of show it is, this isn't a very significant factor. But Seven Deadly Sins is without a doubt a battle anime. A combat is a very significant part of the entire show. So if the combat isn't hitting hard, damn, bro, you're losing a huge aspect of the show. Let me cast your mind to another anime, Demon Slayer, a very hot and popping anime that is really great. From a narrative perspective, it's definitely much more on the mediocre side, but the animation, the visual spectacle is absolutely amazing, and that's why Demon Slayer is staying at the highest echelons of the anime streets in the anime community. It is hot, it is banging, it is a great experience, and I'd recommend you to go out and watch Demon Slayer. Particularly that entertainment district fight and the Mugen Train movie. Ooh, great stuff is to be enjoyed right there. So anyway, back to Seven Deadly Sins. The animation and the fights, bro, what is going on, dude? What is going on? It's a complete failure to what we're used to seeing in the first and second season. Consider this fight between Meliodas, Hendrickson, and Gilthunder. Bro, what a great, interesting fight. And this isn't even a significant fight in the anime, bro. This is not a significant fight, but they're popping off. There's so much movement. There's cool movements, cool fight scenes, cool stuff that they're doing. They're really throwing hands. They're really going at it. But here, where legendary fights are supposed to be happening in this final arc, Meliodas versus Escanor, Meliodas versus this person, all of these great and awesome fights, Estarossa versus everybody, these great and cool fights end up being lackluster because they aren't able to do much or put too much effort into it. Now, I don't know if it was a budget issue. I don't know if the students at the studio simply didn't have the capabilities to be able to produce a high quality animated experience, because the visuals still look good. The art style has been maintained. If you are just watching the show and watching them going to Leonis, or just looking at the character designs, looking at them speak to each other, you wouldn't even notice a studio change. But as soon as we get to the combat, that's when the difference between the two studios are definitely palpable. And I think it's an absolute shame that this show lost all of its possible potential to be a really real classic because of this aspect. While I definitely do acknowledge that there are definitely substantial narrative frailties with the ending of Seven Deadly Sins, it having fire animation might have been the thing that could have saved this series. And I truly think that that's a shame. If you're asking for a rating from me, I'm going to give Seven Deadly Sins Season 3, the 24 episode seasons. Season 3, I'm going to give that a 6.5 out of 10. And the final season of Seven Deadly Sins, I'm going to give that a 6 out of 10. Slightly above average. And it hurts more because when the good kid, when the A students gets like a 60, gets like a C, you're like, what's going on, bro? Whoa, what? It's just thoroughly disappointing, and with really lackluster animation, it goes the nail in the coffin for Seven Deadly Sins. So guys, that was my video. What a shame that this became the ending of a very interesting and exciting anime series, but it is what it is. We continue to move, and hopefully this isn't the case for many other anime shows and the like. Really, they just need to make it a rule, bro, that you do not start producing an anime until the manga is at least maybe 80% finished, bro, so we don't have to wait for content, or ensure that the studio and everybody has their money together to ensure that we at least get a consistent flow of anime, bro. 4 years between season 1 and season 2? Bro, come on, dog. Come on, bro. But hey guys, those are my thoughts. Tell me your thoughts down there in the comments. How do you feel about Seven Deadly Sins? Am I maybe a little bit too off? Am I completely wrong? Do you disagree? Tell me your thoughts down there in the comments. My name is Explicit Sage. Like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me your thoughts down there in the comments. Take it easy, gents.